I wasn't really into gardening. What happened was my wife Teresa wanted me to help her put the garden together, and I just didn't want to do it. So we put it together, and when we walked out of it, I left for good, and I didn't go back into it. Then so happened to be my brother-in-law stopped here, and he asked me how the garden's doing, and I forgot about it. I looked back, the weeds are 2 feet tall. So she named me a little bit, and I said I'll get better at it. And the second year was better, and then the third year I just wanted to get it done. And she come into my shop. I was out there monkeying around. It was early in the morning, and she come up and said, "I got the strings of stakes, and I'm ready for you to help me put the rows in." And I figured, well, that my morning's shot. So I went out there and I looked. I went out to the garden, and I stood there for a minute, and I looked at the strings sagging and the stakes and that, and I stood there for about a minute, just kind of scoping it out, and then I grabbed the garden hoe and said, "Okay, here we go." And I went about 3 feet, and I have a tendency to talk to myself. I worked by myself for 9 years, for myself, for all of 20, and I said to myself, I went about 3 feet with the traditional garden hoe, and I said, in 5 minutes, by the time I move the stake and strings, I'm going to be in that row. I said, "Why ain't you in there right now?" So I dropped that hoe and I headed for my shop. And she said, "Where are you going, quitting?" I said, "I'll be back in a little bit." So I come back 40 minutes later with this contraption I cobbled together. And she said, "What are you going to do now?" I said, "I'm going to get the garden done." Just so happened to be I timed myself, and I put that garden together in about 13 minutes. I left the strings and stakes behind. My logo on my website is "No stakes, no strings, no problems." So the more I monkeyed with this product, the better it got. So finally I got my brother Bill involved, and we finally submitted it for patent. And then we were invited to the Las Vegas National Hardware Show. So we went out there and we were showcased out there with the product. But for me, I wanted to just kind of launch it here in Brainerd Lakes area and see where it takes us. The front leading blade design is how I made it so that without the tools in that, it just simply adjusts. The row widths are 33, 27, and 20-inch rows. Just simply adjust it with no tools. The center holes are punched straight into the shaft. The blades rail back and forth. And then they're kind of oblong as if a motor mount plate would be, so that way they give the ability to flex back and forth. So they wiggle. You just simply put the pin in. So right now we're at 27 inches. We can go vice versa, either end. Okay. So we'll just set it back where it was.
33, 27, and
20-inch rows.
Okay.
So with Parallel Garden Hoe, the more I monkeyed around with it, I found out it's not just a garden hoe, it's a scribe, it's a compass. You know, concrete workers, landscapers, everything's in curves just like my sidewalk is here today. They can go ahead and scribe that out instead of laying the garden hoses out and measure off of that. And that was in seconds. So we could just simply adjust the head on it. So if they wanted to turn this here into a flower bed, or what have you, they could do that. 4 years, once I submitted it. My brother Bill is my, business partner, and he's in on my invention with us. This thing probably sat around for 6 months, I bet. Okay. 5. Yeah, when I ran into Bill, it was in the middle of winter. So from May to winter, it was sitting around. I go look at it once in a while.
I'd say about 9 months that it sat.
Yeah, probably. So in that process time, I had the tool. I just didn't know where I was going with it.
And we started searching.
Yeah, and I'd run around. I'm in the stores and that, and I started looking around to just see if there was anything, something similar to it or what have you. And I wasn't seeing anything. But the patents and that, they searched this invention back to the 1890. So, and then they finally gave me the green light to go ahead and market it. Okay. So that's a long time.